It was Tuesday afternoon at the Ellen DeGeneres show studio. The familiar blue and white lights painted the stage, and Ellen bounced on with her trademark smile, launching into her opening monologue. Everything was proceeding exactly as planned until it wasn't. So today, Ellen announced, her voice carrying that warm California sunshine quality that had made her America's favorite daytime host, we have an incredible guest. She's a third-grade teacher from Lincoln Elementary here in Los Angeles, and according to her principal, she's absolutely transformed their school. Please welcome Mrs. Jennifer Martinez. The audience erupted as Jennifer Martinez walked onto the stage. In her early 40s, she wore a navy blazer and moved with the confidence of someone used to commanding attention from 8-year-olds. Ellen embraced her guest, and they settled into the white chairs. Ellen began with her usual charm. Jennifer, your principal, Dr. Rodriguez, sent us the most amazing letter about you. She says you've increased reading scores by 40% in just 2 years. You've started a breakfast program, a homework club, and somehow you've managed to get every single one of your students excited about learning. How do you do it? Jennifer's smile was genuine, but tired around the edges. Well, Ellen, I think when you really love what you do, when you understand that these kids depend on you for more than just education, you find ways to make magic happen. That's beautiful. And I understand you do a lot more than teach. You stay late every day? Yes, Jennifer nodded, and for just a moment, something flickered across her face. A micro-expression that Ellen's years of interviewing had trained her to notice. I'm usually the first one there in the morning and the last one to leave. That's dedication. Where do you find the energy for all this? Jennifer paused, and in that pause, Ellen sensed something deeper. The audience was laughing at Ellen's previous boaks, but Ellen was studying Jennifer's face, watching the way her fingers tightened almost imperceptibly around the arm of her chair. You find it, Jennifer said quietly. You find it because these kids need you to find it. Ellen nodded, but something in her interviewer's instincts was pinging. She'd done this long enough to know when someone was carrying more than they were saying. The practiced deflection, the way Jennifer's eyes darted away for just a second. These were tells Ellen recognized. Jennifer, can I ask you something? Ellen's tone shifted slightly, becoming more personal, less performative. The audience sensed the change too, the laughter fading into attentive silence. Of course, you mentioned being first to arrive and last to leave. What's your commute like? Do you live far from the school? It was an innocent question, the kind of small talk that filled interview segments. But Jennifer's reaction was anything but small. Her smile faltered completely for the first time since she'd walked onto the stage. Her hands, which had been resting comfortably in her lap, now gripped each other tightly. I live pretty close, she said, her voice slightly strained. Ellen had interviewed thousands of people. She knew when someone was carrying more than they were saying, and right now, everything about Jennifer Martinez was screaming that there was more to this story. Close is good, Ellen said gently. Quick commute means more time for those kids you love so much. Jennifer nodded quickly. Too quickly. Exactly. More time for the kids. But Ellen wasn't done. Something about this woman, her obvious dedication, her genuine love for her students, and the careful way she was choosing her words, made Ellen want to dig deeper. Jennifer, I have to say, you're dressed so professionally. You always look this put together for school? I try to, Jennifer said, and now her voice was definitely strained. I think it's important for the kids to see that education matters, that their teacher respects them enough to look professional. That's wonderful. And where do you get ready in the mornings? I imagine with your early schedule, you must have your routine down to a science. The question hit Jennifer like a physical blow. Ellen watched as the woman's carefully maintained composure cracked visibly. Jennifer's eyes filled with tears that she tried desperately to blink away. Her breathing became shallow, and her hands began to tremble. The studio fell completely silent. 200 audience members seemed to collectively hold their breath as they watched this successful, inspiring teacher suddenly struggle to answer what should have been the simplest question in the world. Ellen's entire demeanor changed in that instant. The entertainer disappeared, replaced by the woman who had built her career on genuine human connection. She leaned forward in her chair, her voice soft and private, despite the cameras and the audience. "Jennifer," she said quietly, "are you okay?" Jennifer looked at Ellen, then at the audience, then back at Ellen. Tears were now flowing freely down her cheeks, and her whole body was shaking with the effort of holding something in. She started, then stopped. "I can't. I shouldn't." Ellen made a decision that would define this moment forever. She stood up from her chair, walked over to Jennifer, and knelt down beside her, taking her hands. "Hey," Ellen said, her voice barely audible to the audience, but picked up clearly by the microphones. "Whatever it is, it's okay. You're safe here." Jennifer looked into Ellen's eyes and saw something there. Genuine care, not performance. Not the Ellen who entertained millions, but the Ellen who understood what it meant to struggle, to hide, to carry burdens that felt too heavy to share. "I get ready at school," Jennifer whispered, her voice breaking. "I get ready at school because I don't have anywhere else to get ready." The words hung in the air like a confession that changed everything. Ellen's eyes widened as understanding dawned, and behind them, the audience began to realize what they were witnessing. "I live in my car," Jennifer continued, the words coming faster now, as if a dam had burst. "I've been living in my car for 8 months. I park in different places so no one finds out. I use the gym membership I can barely afford to shower. I get to school at 5:30 every morning to use the teacher's bathroom to do my hair and makeup and get dressed because I can't let my students know. I can't let them see that their teacher, the person who's supposed to have her life together, who tells them they can be anything, is homeless." The silence in the studio was deafening. Ellen's eyes filled with tears as she processed what she'd just heard. This woman, this incredible educator, who had transformed her school, who stayed late every day to help her students, who dressed professionally and maintained such dignity, had been secretly struggling with homelessness. "Oh, Jennifer," Ellen whispered, and without hesitation, she wrapped the teacher in her arms right there on the stage. The audience watched as these two women held each other, one of America's most successful entertainers and a teacher who had been hiding one of the most difficult secrets imaginable. The cameras kept rolling, but this was no longer television. This was humanity at its most raw and real. Jennifer sobbed against Ellen's shoulder, releasing months of fear and shame and exhaustion. "I'm so sorry," she kept saying. "I didn't mean to say anything. When you asked about where I get ready, I couldn't." "Don't you dare apologize," Ellen said firmly, pulling back to look Jennifer in the eyes. "Don't you dare apologize for struggling. You have nothing to be ashamed of." Ellen stood up and addressed the audience directly, her voice strong despite her tears. "This is Jennifer Martinez. She's one of the most dedicated teachers I've ever met. She's increased reading scores by 40%. She runs breakfast programs and homework clubs. She loves her students so much that she's been hiding her own struggles so they never have to worry about her. And she's been doing all of this while living in her car." The audience erupted, but not with applause, with something deeper. Some were crying, others were shaking their heads in disbelief and admiration. This wasn't the typical Ellen Show moment of joy and laughter. This was something much more profound. Ellen turned back to Jennifer. "How long has it been like this?" 8 months, Jennifer said, wiping her eyes. "My landlord sold the building. I couldn't find anything I could afford on a teacher's salary, not in LA. I kept thinking it would be temporary, that I'd find something, but you kept teaching. Of course I kept teaching. Those kids need consistency. They need to know that someone believes in them. Someone shows up for them every day. I couldn't let my problems become their problems. Ellen looked at this woman, really looked at her. Here was someone who had sacrificed her own comfort, her own security, to make sure 28 third graders never doubted that they mattered. She had maintained such professionalism, such dedication, while secretly struggling with one of the most basic human needs, shelter. Jennifer, Ellen said, you said you couldn't let your students see that their teacher doesn't have her life together. But I need you to understand something. You have your life more together than most people I know. You've been facing impossible circumstances, and you've still shown up. You've still believed in those kids. You've still made magic happen in that classroom. Ellen paused, looking out at the audience, then back at Jennifer. You know what? I think it's time we made some magic happen for you. Ellen walked to her desk. I'm calling someone, she announced. Jennifer, I did some research before you came on. Jennifer looked confused as Ellen dialed. Dr. Rodriguez? It's Ellen? Yes, I know you're watching. Listen, we need to talk about Jennifer Martinez. Ellen had a private conversation while the audience watched. When she returned, her expression was resolute. Jennifer, Dr. Rodriguez had no idea about your situation. She wants you to know that not only does she think you're the best teacher in the district, but she's been trying to figure out how to give you a raise because you're so valuable to that school. Jennifer's eyes widened. What? And, Ellen continued, we're going to solve this housing situation right now. There's someone else I need to call. Ellen dialed another number. Michael, it's Ellen DeGeneres. Yes, I'm on the air. Remember that conversation about teachers and housing in LA? When she hung up, her smile was brighter. Jennifer, do you know who Michael Chen is? Jennifer shook her head. He's a real estate developer here in LA. He's also someone who believes that teachers are the backbone of our society. And he just told me something very interesting. Ellen paused. This was real life changing in real time. He's been working on a project specifically designed to provide affordable housing for teachers and first responders. And he just told me that the first unit in his new building, a beautiful one-bedroom apartment just 15 minutes from your school, has been sitting empty because he's been waiting for the right teacher to give it to. Jennifer's mouth fell open. What? He wants to meet with you after the show. Not to interview you, not to make you jump through hoops. He's watched everything that just happened here, and he said, and I quote, that's exactly the kind of teacher this program was designed for. The audience exploded. People were on their feet, crying, cheering, applauding, not just for Jennifer, but for the beautiful collision of need and generosity they'd just witnessed. But Ellen wasn't done. And Jennifer, there's one more thing that raised Dr. Rodriguez mentioned. It's not just a possibility. Your school district has been allocated extra funding for teacher retention, specifically for educators who show exceptional dedication. Rodriguez is recommending you for the maximum increase, a 25% raise, effective immediately. Jennifer was crying so hard now she could barely speak. I can't believe. Why? Why are you doing this? Ellen knelt down again, taking Jennifer's hands. Because you've been showing up for those kids every single day, despite facing something that would break most people. Because you've proved that teaching isn't just your job, it's your calling. Because every child deserves a teacher who loves them the way you love your students. Ellen stood up and addressed the camera directly, but most importantly, because no one who dedicates their life to educating our children should have to sleep in their car. We can't let that happen. We won't let that happen. The audience was on their feet again, and this time Jennifer stood with them. Ellen, wrapped her arm around the teacher's shoulders as they faced the crowd together. Jennifer Martinez, everyone, Ellen announced. Third grade teacher, breakfast program coordinator, homework club director, reading score miracle worker, and from now on, proud resident of the Michael Chen Teacher Housing Initiative. As the applause continued, Ellen turned to Jennifer one more time. You know what the best part of this is? What? Jennifer asked, still overwhelmed. Tomorrow morning, when you show up at school, and I know you'll be there early because that's who you are, those 28 kids are going to see the same incredible teacher they've always had. But now, she's going to be even better because she's not carrying that weight anymore. She can focus all that energy on what she does best, changing lives. Ellen paused, looking at Jennifer with genuine admiration. You never stopped believing in those kids. Today, we're just making sure you never have to stop believing in yourself. The cameras captured the final moments. Ellen and Jennifer embracing again, the audience still applauding, and most remarkably, Jennifer's face no longer carrying the weight of her secret, but glowing with the relief and hope that comes from being truly seen and supported. Later, in Ellen's dressing room, Jennifer revealed something profound. When I walked onto this stage today, I was planning to quit teaching. Ellen looked up, surprised. I couldn't do it anymore, living in my car, pretending everything was fine, but sitting here now, knowing I don't have to carry this alone anymore, I remember why I became a teacher. Ellen smiled. Those kids are lucky to have you, and now they get to keep you. 6 months later, Ellen received a letter from 28 third graders. They wrote that Mrs. Martinez seemed lighter, smiled more, and had made learning even more magical. At the bottom, in Jennifer's handwriting, still showing up, still believing, forever grateful. Ellen kept that letter as a reminder that sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is ask the right question at the right moment. Sometimes, the real magic happens not when we hide our struggles, but when we allow others to help us carry them. The homeless teacher's secret had become a story of hope, proving that dignity isn't about having everything together. It's about never giving up on the things that matter most.